The NBA is absolutely terrified of this, as there has been a lot of trade talks surrounding a lot of the NBA's best and brightest young stars, and that includes the Chicago Bulls, who have surrounded themselves in trade talks with multiple contract extensions due for young players, and also having tradable contracts with a team that is trying to build through a younger squad. And we're going to break all of this down, as the Chicago Bulls are now in an excellent position very sneakily. What's up, guys? Welcome back to Bulls Digest. It's Chris here. Before we jump into this video, if you guys are part of that 76% that's not subscribed to Bulls Digest, make sure to subscribe for daily Chicago Bulls updates. We got a lot of stuff coming out right now. I promise not all of them are going to be trade videos. There's a lot of stuff to go over for this Bulls season, and the three of us are going to have a ton of great videos for you guys all throughout the preseason, the regular season, and every other part of the year as well that you do not want to miss out on. But let's jump into this, guys. There's a lot to go over on the Chicago Bulls. There's been a lot of talk surrounding what the team is going to do in regards to multiple players. As we know, the Josh Giddey saga is still going on, though all signs do point to Josh Giddey sticking around with the Chicago Bulls on some deal that I'm going to guess is going to be around $23 to $25 million per year on average annual value. I think the Bulls will give in a bit, and Josh Giddey will give in a bit more. Understanding the situation, the Bulls do have a little bit more leverage, so I do imagine we'll see a deal around that the two sides will agree to, and Josh Giddey will be on the Bulls for the long haul, or at least for the next 3 seasons if he doesn't sign a 4-year deal. And on top of that, there has been talk surrounding other players, including Coby White. Now, there's been a lot of talk that Coby White will likely get traded off the Chicago Bulls, basically based off the fact that he is going to be a free agent, an unrestricted free agent next offseason, and it just feels like the Bulls are sort of starting to move in a different direction. They have a guard logjam, and it makes sense because Coby White is one of the most, if not the most talented player on the team. He's the team's best scorer right now, and when you have a guy like Coby White on an expiring contract, he does become valuable to other teams around the league that could use more scoring, that are trying to contend this year, and Coby White does now find himself in a lot of those trade talks, and it's really hit its peak in this trade that was recently proposed by Sports Illustrated, where the Bulls would receive Scottie Barnes in exchange for giving Coby White and Zach Collins with a lottery-protected 2027 first-round pick to the Miami Heat, as the Raptors give Tyler Hero and a lottery-protected 2028 first-round pick from the Heat, in exchange for this whole deal to go through and for them to give up Scottie Barnes. Now, obviously, this is an absolutely crazy blockbuster trade that would be the biggest trade that's been made since the Luka Doncic Anthony Davis trade, which is likely the biggest trade in NBA history. So, obviously, this would be an absolute shakeup, and one that all Bulls fans should be very much welcoming for the team. Now, the reasoning for this for the Bulls was broken down by Sports Illustrated, who said the Bulls would, or at least should, pull the trigger on this deal for 4 simple logical reasons. The point guard logjam is now unjammed. Barnes fills the Bulls' massive hole at the wing. At 24 years old, Barnes fits Chicago's timelines, and the Bulls, being counters, won't have to worry about giving White the hefty extension that he richly deserves. The Bulls would be acquiring Scottie Barnes in this move. Barnes, a former All-Star, is put up 19 points per game last year, 8 rebounds and 6 assists, being an all-around talent, getting a steal and a half and a block per game, being a phenomenal defender. He can play multiple different positions. He could play the shooting guard, the small forward, the power forward. He could even play a little bit of point guard as well. He could be a small ball center if you absolutely needed him to. Scottie Barnes is a modern NBA player. Now, the shooting is a little bit rough, especially above the break, but on those corner threes, shooting 35% is not the worst thing to see in the world, and he's shooting 44% from the field. He is, right now, the Raptors have a bit of a wonky fit. Him and RJ Barrett do not really fit well together at all, especially when you throw Jakob Poeltl in there as well. The spacing is very questionable. So if you get him to a team like the Chicago Bulls, who would still have both Jalen Smith and Nikola Vucevic on the team, 2 guys who can space the floor out, it would give Barnes more room to work while having an elite playmaking guard in Josh Giddey to really help him be his best self. Now, with all that in mind, it would help a ton, and the Bulls, in exchange, would be giving up Coby White, who averaged 20 points per game last year, 4 rebounds, 4.5 assists, shot 37% from 3, 38% from the corner 3, and 45% from the field. Now, White's obviously a phenomenal player, but again, it feels like he is going to get traded one way or another. And then Zach Collins is not the world's biggest loss by any means. He played 15 minutes per game last year between the Spurs and the Bulls. He put up 6.5 points, 4.5 rebounds, and 2 assists a night. Got decent shooting. Now, I mean, 50% from the field's nothing to sneeze at, but the 30% from 3 is far from ideal. So obviously not really the biggest loss at all, and that lottery protected pick is so worth going and getting Scottie Barnes. Now, also there's the talk, why would the other teams accept this? Well, it was mentioned by Sports Illustrated that given a proper system, Coby White can deliver similar production to Tyler Herro's, and he's 1 year younger. Collins could mentor and or replace raw 21-year-old Kel'el Ware, which, all right, no, he couldn't. That's not true at all. And currently, Miami doesn't own a 2027 first-round pick, so problem solved there. On top of that, what we'd also see is that Tyler Herro would widely improve Toronto's meh backcourt of Emmanuel Quickley and Grady Dick. In the thin Eastern Conference, a quartet of Herro, RJ Barrett, Brandon Ingram, and Jakob Poeltl is a legitimate contender for a playoff spot. Future firsts are never a bad thing. So that's also a huge part of this right here, is that at the end of the day, you would be able to get an absolute stud, and really, I mean, the Raptors only getting back 1 first-round pick would be an absolute steal for the Chicago Bulls to pull off any deal to land Scotty Barnes like this. Barnes is young. His best days are ahead of him, and he's already shown that he is an all-star player, so it would be absolutely huge for the team to be able to pull this off. Now, White did have an excellent second half of the season, which is going to inflate his value a ton. He averaged 24.5 points per game, 4.5 rebounds, and 4 assists. He shot 49% from the field, and then also had a full true shooting of 63.4 with his three-point percentage around 37%. Look, there is the fear that Coby White definitely is someone who wasn't the first option and then became one mid-season, so the second half of his season was great. We saw that with Mikal Bridges when he got traded to the Brooklyn Nets. He averaged around 26 points per game, and then the next year after, he didn't get even to 20. He had like 19 points because teams started to game plan for him, understanding he was the number 1 scoring option. So teams are going to be aware of that, which is going to put a bit of a damper on things. And also, White being an expiring deal does leave a question mark to exactly what his new team would be willing to pay for the services of Coby White, which is a part of things as well that we definitely do have to be aware of when considering everything regarding this trade. Now, White, he's got 1 year left on his deal before he's getting a very big extension for himself. Now, is that going to be with the Bulls? Probably not, which does mean he's going to get traded in some form. If Arturas sits on Coby White and then lets him walk, that is going to be a fireable offense, and he's committed some already. But on top of that, you then see Zach Collins, who is an expiring contract, and getting one of those never hurts anyone, so that would be helpful. He'd be easy to move if you have to move. You could buy him out. You could do a million things with him, and you would be A-okay. And on top of that, you do look at Scotty Barnes' deal. The Bulls would not have to worry about another whole contract saga like with Josh Giddey, because, yeah, Barnes is getting paid a ton of money, but it's also worth it. The Bulls, they have a lot of money to work with in their free agency or in their cap space right now. They don't have anyone really signed long-term outside of Patrick Williams. The only guy who's signed to that same 2029 season is Noah Essengay, who got drafted this year. So you bring in Scotty Barnes, it's better than any free agent acquisition that you could possibly get. So it's fine paying that money. And then you have a lineup of, you got Josh Giddey, you have, when you're looking at the young core, you have Josh Giddey and Scotty Barnes, Noah Essengay, Buzelis. Like, you got a team. Barnes and Buzelis as your forwards is going to be excellent. Yeah, you could still use a big man, and the Bulls likely would not become a playoff team off that. They might be a play-in team again, and then what you focus on is going to get some sort of center in the draft next year, and also maybe another shooter as well, because that team would be a little short on shooters, but you would have Kevin Huerter for the following year, which would be helpful. He'd probably start at the 2 in that situation, give a little bit more floor spacing as well, which would be interesting to see how it all works out. But guys, what do you think? Would you pull the trigger on this trade? If not, why not? Because this feels like a home run, slam dunk, whatever you want to call it, hole in one, other sports analogies, touchdown. This makes me seem like I've never watched a game of sports in my life, and I talk about sports for a living. So I'm going to shut up, guys. Like this video, subscribe, turn on post notifications. Have a great day. I'll catch you later.